Hey, welcome to today's episode of On This Day. It is February 3rd, and we have appearances on today's episode from an alleged Silicon Valley fraud, 3 dead rock stars, and a couple amendments added to the Constitution. This is the 34th day of the year. There are 332 days left in 2020. There are no major holidays or observances in the United States on this date, which is kind of a bummer. I mean, every date should have something. This is the 44th day of winter. There are 46 days left until spring, almost the halfway point. We're getting close. It actually snowed here for like 30 seconds today in Portland. It hasn't been a terrible winter for us this far. But let's see what past February 3rds have brought us. 1690, the colony of Massachusetts issues the first paper money in the Americas. At the time, the banknote was only worth 2 shillings, which I know it's British money. I don't know how much that is. Anyway, it took up a full piece of paper, like notebook paper size money. Much different from the small bills we have today. Smaller bills really didn't catch on until about 100 years later. I guess back then they didn't have people worrying about saving the trees and all that stuff. I guess Oregon wasn't around yet, so yeah. 1870, the 15th Amendment to the United States Constitution is ratified, guaranteed voting rights for male citizens regardless of race. This is a turning point in American history. However, segregation was still alive and well, and would still be a thing in schools for nearly 100 more years. Side note, women still couldn't vote for almost 50 years after this. And for all of you who think women shouldn't be able to vote, I mean like even today, please stop watching my channels. 1913, the 16th Amendment to the United States Constitution is ratified, authorizing the federal government to impose and collect income tax. So if my math is right, the use of the F word has been climbing in frequency for over 107 years. 1918, the Twin Peaks Tunnel in San Francisco, California begins service as the longest streetcar tunnel in the world at 11,920 feet long. It is still in use this day and sees about 80,000 riders a day. 1944, World War II. During the Gilbert and Marshall Island campaign, U.S. Army and Marine forces seized Kwajalein Atoll from the defending Japanese garrison. This included the 4th Marine Division and my old Army unit, the 7th Infantry Division. Obviously, I wasn't part of this little adventure. This happened a handful of decades before I even joined the military. They still have a U.S. Army base there. It has satellite dishes and mostly it's a anti-missile place now. 1959, rock and roll musicians Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and J.P. the Big Bopper Richardson were killed in a plane crash near Clear Lake, Iowa. This is known as the day the music died. A lot of people know this from the song. Don McLean wrote a song about the plane accident, and it's probably one of the greatest pieces of American music called American Pie. Bye bye American Pie. You guys get it. That's not the greatest thing Mr. McLean's done. He's 74 and he's dating a 24-year-old Instagram underwear model, and I'm sure she really loves him. Has nothing to do with her trying to gain a little fame. I don't know. I've always been a little weirded out by dudes that are like 20 to 30 years older than who they're dating. I've just always felt that's weird. But that's just me. 1961, the United States Air Force begins Operation Looking Glass, and over the next 30 years, a doomsday plane is always in the air, with the capability of taking direct control of the United States bombers and missiles in the event of the destruction of SATCOM's post. Basically, the place they normally control it, if it's ever hit or destroyed or something like that, we got a plane in the air that can do everything. This was big during the Cold War. 1994, the Space Shuttle program, mission STS-60 is launched, carrying the first Russian cosmonaut to fly aboard the space shuttle. 1995, astronaut Elaine Collins becomes the first woman to pilot the space shuttle as mission STS-63 gets underway from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Born on February 3rd, 1894, Norman Rockwell, American painter and illustrator. Norman Rockwell was famous for his paintings that depicted American life that were used for the covers of the Saturday Evening Post for like ever. It was always things like family dinner with a giant turkey, grandfather fishing with grandson, a mom and dad tucking their kids into bed. You know, real American life. Now, if you grew up in East Los Angeles or Detroit, you probably thought Norman Rockwell painted lies. 1970, Warwick Davis. He's an English actor, producer, and screenwriter. He's born. He is best known for his roles in the movie Willow, Harry Potter, and the Leprechaun movies. He's a little person. 1984, Elizabeth Holmes is born. She's American fraudist, founder of Theranos, a privately held health technology corporation. It becomes famous for false claims to have devised a blood testing system that you only need like a little dab of blood. Normally like about the amount you'd use for, testing your sugar for diabetics and stuff like that. They were able to detect all kinds of things, at least they said. It was a total sham. They couldn't do any of it. They were taking in stuff and saying these were the results they were getting, but they were actually getting the results from other labs abs, or it was just weird. HBO has a movie about it, and it's worth a watch, especially her weird obsession with Steve Jobs. That one was weird. Elizabeth Holmes will face a trial in federal court this summer with penalties that could be up to like 20 years in prison and millions of dollars in fines. Jury selection begins July 28, 2020. That's according to the U.S. District Courts. Died on February 3rd, 1924, Woodrow Wilson, American president, historian, academic, and politician. He was the 28th president of the United States, and he was in the White House during Prohibition, so that sucks. He died at the age of 67. After he left the White House, his left arm and left leg were both paralyzed, and he frequently suffered from digestive tract issues. His health continued to decline further until he finally passed away in 1924. 1935, Hugo Junkers, German engineer, designer of Junker J1 and the first all-metal aircraft. He dies at the age of 76. The only reason I added on here because his last name's Junker. I mean, how cool is that? Might be pronounced Junker. He is German, but hey, looks like Junker to me. 2006, we lost Al Lewis, American actor and activist. Most people don't know who he is, unless you're a fan. He was Grandpa from the TV show The Munsters. He was famous towards the end of his life. He went on the Howard Stern show, and they were protesting the FCC, who was giving him fines for doing weird stuff and saying bad things. And they were kind of protesting the FCC, and he didn't know they were live. He dropped an F-bomb on live television, basically what they were in trouble for in the first place. It was great. All right, so that is February 3rd. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Everybody, have a great day. Be nice to each other.